Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Chainlink and its native token Link. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So, Link is now trading below $20. So, it had a pretty big sell-off once again following this Bitcoin sell-off that we've seen over the last several months. Bitcoin has more or less been in a downtrend up until a couple weeks ago, since mid-November, and the same thing can more or less be said for Chainlink. Now, right now, it remains below its bull market support band, so it still hasn't really done anything consequential really since the beginning of 2021. And even with that in mind, even in early 2021, it wasn't that significant based on what some other projects did. But we also recognize, as I've said before, that Chainlink can go through these phases where it doesn't do a whole lot. We saw this before at $4. I know a lot of people, probably remember that phase where Chainlink was more or less range bound here between $2 or $4. For a long time, really. This was from like the summer of 2019, and we didn't really break out of it until the early summer of 2020, where the price of Link was sort of all over the place, right? It came up to $4 or so, down to $1.50, back up to $3, back down to less than $2, then back up to almost $5, back down to less than $2 again, and then finally it actually broke out. And then it did basically a 5x or so from that breakout spot. So we want to talk about where is Link today, and to briefly show where we are. The current valuation, we are more or less at the bottom of the range that we have been in for quite some time. So if we were to just say draw a line in the sand and say, okay, well, this is the current price. If I draw it at the current price, this is where the current price is. We can see that it more or less is near the bottom of the range that we've been in basically for the last year. Okay, so we had a couple of dips below it. If I just shift the line down to show where the range is, this is where we spent a majority of our time. Okay, so the summer of 2020, that crazy DeFi summer that we saw back then, it took Link up to a valuation of approximately $20. This was seen as a mania price back then. Now it's more or less seen as a FUD price because, again, it hasn't really done a whole lot in quite some time. But we are nearing the bottom of the range, all right? If we draw a line where we currently are, we can also see that we are trying to potentially get back above the prior high from the summer of 2020. And then furthermore, we can always draw our line in the sand to just see kind of these lower highs that we've been putting in. So we do have some work cut out for us. I'm not going to, to pretend like we don't. But as always with altcoins, I think it makes a little bit more sense to talk about not just say the Link USD valuation, but also to go look at the Link Bitcoin valuation and the Link ETH valuation. So specifically, if you go look at the Link Bitcoin valuation, we've looked at this both on a linear scale and a logarithmic scale, which when you do this, of course, it'll give you different lines in the sand to draw. But namely, the lower bound of the range, we are approaching it. Okay, so the lower bound that we've seen for basically since early 2020 has been around 3,000 to 4,000 Satoshis, and we're currently sitting at just below 4,200 Satoshis. So we are getting close to the bottom of the range that Link Bitcoin has been in for quite some time. If you shift this over to a linear scale and draw your line in the sand and connect peak 1 to peak 2, you can kind of see we broke out of it, and now we are maybe back testing it a little bit, right? So we broke out of it, and now we're back testing it. However, if you simply go look at it on a logarithmic scale, which is probably a better way to look at things, especially when you have an asset that can span orders of magnitude, you can see that we have just been rejected off the same trend line for the third time. And do know that even on the log scale, these things are converging in 2022. So we'll see what comes of that. The Link Bitcoin valuation right now is still sitting shy of its 20-week moving average. In order to get there, it would need to get back above 47.73 Satoshi. So not too far extended from where it currently is, but it is right now in a downtrend. One of the things we can also look at with Link USD actually is looking at that corridor that we've often used for Bitcoin. Now, I don't really think it's as useful for altcoins because it was specifically fit looking at Bitcoin and seeing that it does a pretty good job here. With altcoins, it doesn't do as good of a job, but we did break below it here. We also broke below it here. We are at the bottom of the range. If you're curious how it would have looked in the past. It would have looked more or less something like that. Okay, so the top part of the band doesn't provide an exact top, but it historically has come pretty close to where it is. And also the bottoms on these sort of pullbacks, while it hasn't been perfect by any stretch of the imagination, it has gotten somewhat close to identifying potential bottoms. Okay. So I also wanted to look at the same thing on the Link Bitcoin valuation just to kind of see what it looks like. And it is in a downtrend. I mean, which makes sense. I mean, Link Bitcoin has been in a downtrend for quite some time. So it makes sense that we're seeing this as sort of in a downtrend. But right now we are still trying to hold support at the same level we've been trying to hold support at for basically the last year, little over a year. Finally, if we go look at the Link Ether valuation, we sort of had this fake breakout recently where we popped above the bull market support band, but the key test, as always, is then holding it as support. We were unable to hold it as support. We always know that holding it as support is the more difficult thing. We moved above it here, and then we came back down. We held it as support, and it continued to fuel this rally for quite some time. If you get above it and then don't hold it as support, then there still is, it is still showing some signs of weakness there. So what we would like to see here for the Link Ether valuation is in fact to see it get back above this level and then hold it as support. Because if we can't and we just get rejected by it and continue heading down, then it's just continuing to bleed against Ether, which is certainly not what we want to see from Chainlink. I do think Link is undervalued. But again, to be fair, I've said that for the last year, and it hasn't really changed anything. Nothing's really changed with Link as with regards to where it actually stacks up on the rankings. I think it's actually lost a few spots because a lot of the layer ones have significantly outperformed. But this is something that we will provide updates on. Hopefully, we can get back above this bull market support band and hold it as support, and then start trending higher. If you go look at the major moves that Link has had against Bitcoin, if you look at any type of seasonality behind them, the last couple were in the summer, right? So this one was in August. This one here was in June. So I mean, maybe we'll see some type of breakout this summer, but obviously a lot of that is always going to be dependent on Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin is below its 20-week SMA, it's hard to imagine Link performing that well. And now it might outperform Bitcoin if Bitcoin becomes somewhat, if it becomes less volatile. But the ideal scenario for Link is for Bitcoin to be above its bull market support band and going sideways. That's the key thing, is going sideways, because again, in the summer of 2019, in July of 2019, which is where this peaked, and in August of 2020, if you go look at August of 2020 and see what was Bitcoin doing in August of 2020, it was basically when it was above the 20-week SMA and going sideways. Furthermore, July of 2019, it was just going sideways above the 20-week moving average. And then finally, even the move that Link USD saw, this spike up here in May of 2021, it corresponded to Bitcoin going sideways above the 20-week moving average. So those are the ideal conditions that we would like to see for Chainlink to really have a solid chance of going to new heights. So look to see if Bitcoin can break above its bull market support band, which currently ranges from around 47K up to around 51K, plus or minus a couple $100. Hopefully this is useful for if you do follow Chainlink. Let me know what you guys think about this analysis in the comments. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Give the video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.